Again, if you are just joining us now, if you can introduce yourself in the chat, your name, what school you're from, your role, and then something you're hoping to learn. We want to make sure we get all of those questions answered before we are done with our time together. Otherwise, it is 2:01, so we will go ahead and get started. My name is Ryan Casey. I'm the director of esports for the Michigan High School Esports League. Joining me today is my colleague and assistant director, Maggie Helmer. We will also have on the call today Chris Black from Play Versus. Play Versus is our platform partner. We'll talk about how all of that works in just a few slides. Just a couple of items as people are introducing themselves in the chat. So hi, Sarah. Hi, Marissa, Courtney. Thank you all for joining us. The chat is a great place that you can introduce yourself, add a comment, share an idea. The Q&A is also open. So if you do have an actual question about something you are hearing, you can ask a question in the Q&A at any time. Maggie's going to be monitoring that while I'm speaking, and Chris will. So they might type some replies or answers in there. They might kind of stop us wherever we're at on a slide just to pose that question if it's related to what we're talking about. So we'll probably answer a lot of those questions as we go. We'll also hang around at the end of the webinar to answer any other questions you might have as well. The slide deck that we are going through today has a bunch of resources and links to web pages and videos built right in. So we will share a copy of this slide deck with you, as well as a copy of this recording. So we are recording this. That will go out to you tomorrow. I think it's set to go out at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So you'll have it within 24 hours, and you can share that with somebody else from your school or from your team that might need to know that information. So just to have an understanding of who is behind the league and who runs what, we are MHSEL. That is the Michigan High School Esports League. We are actually hosted by the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. I'm a former high school and middle school principal. So Maggie and I both work for MASSP, supporting principals all across the state of Michigan. We also work with students through our Michigan Student Leadership Group. So if you ever see anybody coming into your buildings to do trainings with your student council or your National Honor Society kiddos, that's probably us. Our platform partner is Play Versus. So that's where Chris comes into the fold. They work with a lot of different states all across the country to be able to provide an esports platform. So kind of like the dashboard or the portal that our coaches and student athletes use to look at their schedule, to connect with other coaches and students, to set up their matches for the day, to report scores. That all happens through Play Versus. So a lot of different acronyms and names on the screen there, but essentially we are talking about MHSEL, the Michigan High School Esports League.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody is muted on the webinar. I see Marissa was wondering about that. Yep, so you are automatically muted. There will be an opportunity to unmute and ask a question. We'll probably do that at the end, Marissa. In the meantime, use the chat to share an idea or the Q&A to answer a question. This is our mission and vision statement. This is something that Maggie and I didn't write. We actually had our advisory board, which is we're up to about 12, 13 people from all across the state representing middle school through high schools in different regions, parts of the state come together. We meet routinely throughout the year to really support and grow our esports league. So our mission is to provide safe, competitive, and curricular environments that allow students the opportunity to build critical skill sets, explore career and college connections, and to really be able to contribute to their school culture. And we want to be the elite high school esports league in Michigan. Tim, I think it's working. Yeah, maybe you might need to hop off and hop right back in real quick if you are not getting any audio. Those things happen, right? So no worries. And again, this is being recorded. So if you need to do that, by all means, go ahead. We'll let you right back in. Some quick facts when it comes to our high school league. We are getting ready to enter our 5th year. So we've done 8 seasons so far. We offer 2 seasons per year. We do a fall version and a spring version. And I just realized explaining that to Tim, if he can't hear us, Maggie, we might have to chat to him to let him know to hop out and hop back in. I just realized I told Tim what to do, but he can't hear us.
I'll be happy to, Ryan. I'm not able to chat him for some reason. I think it's only
Or
set to
maybe
host and
Chris.
panelist.
Oh, he's back. It's all good. All right, there you go, Tim. So just talking some quick facts about high school. We are up to 12 games being offered. So that's the cool thing. I think we started with like 6 or 7 games, 5 years ago, and we're up to 12. So we have all the popular games the kids want to play. We have them. And now we'll move on to the next slide. Again, just focusing on high school for a second. Last season, our spring season was our largest to date. We had 164 schools, over 700 teams, and over 3,000 students participating on 10 different game titles just last spring. And so we have our 9 different state leagues that took place last spring, and we'll talk about the different leagues and different games in just a moment to explain how that all works. We've had tremendous growth each and every season. You can see the heat map there. So my friends from Marquette High School actually participate. So we do have some UP schools, and we are spreading in different pockets throughout the state. So middle school, we started piloting middle school a little bit last year, kept it very, very small, but we are really expanding that on the Play Versus platform for the first time. So we are entering our second year. The fall season is what we call a scholastic season, meaning you're going to get onboarded. We're going to try and just make sure you can work all the bugs out, have fun. You'll be able to play still competitive matches against other middle schools from across the state, but there isn't going to be any like playoffs or championship, if you will, for the fall. We will, however, do that in the spring. So you will have a very similar experience to what our high schools have, where you'll have a preseason, a regular season, and then if you qualify, a postseason playoff set of matches, followed by a middle school championship. We started with 3 games just a couple weeks ago, and that is now 6 games. And we'll cover what all those games are in just a few slides. Maggie's going to play not the whole video. It's about a 3 or 4 minute video. This is from our spring championships for our high schoolers, which was held at Oakland University. We generally try to go to a college campus for all of our season championship events. I just think it's really powerful to get kids on a college campus and to be able to talk with college coaches and athletes and ask about college life and scholarships and how that all works. But this event, you're going to see we had 16 different schools there for semifinal matches and finals matches for 4 different game titles, our most popular game titles. And it was a great event. We also did our in-season awards for our all-state and Player of the Year and Coach of the Year award recipient. So we'll play a minute or 2 of this, and I might talk a little bit along the way. There's a little bit of background music, but if you're not getting any, that's okay. I'll talk a little bit here. So this happens at the end of every season. We kind of do different formats, and sometimes we offer different game titles. We generally select the games that are the most popular, so that, in other words, have the most teams participating throughout the season. But it's really cool to see all the kids come in with their esports jerseys on. They have mom and dad or grandpa and grandma or other peers from the student body coming to cheer them on and support them throughout the day. We generally do walk-up music and read some stats off about the team, just like you would see at the start of a basketball game, right? They shake hands before and after their match. They'll high-five each other. They'll be excited. They'll be upset if they lose, right? Just like you would expect any other traditional athlete. We also have shoutcasting going on, which is really the play-by-play explanation of what you see happening on the screen, which is just like you would have again watching football on TV, right? So our college partners, and this time Oakland University were extremely gracious to have us and to be able to provide some of that shoutcast so people can watch from home even if they can be at the game. Kids get big old medals, trophies. It's not rare to have kids get a little teary-eyed. Maggie gets to have the opportunity to put the medals on the kids, and a lot of times she'll have kids comment, "This is the first award I've ever received in my entire life," right? So that's, again, just one of the other many reasons we like to do this, because we know it's good for kids. And I think that's probably good. Yep. So I'm going to pause, just kind of got the basics about MHSEL and kind of who we are and what we're doing. I'm going to turn, Chris and I will kind of go back and forth a little bit actually as we talk here, talking about the Play Versus platform, how that all works, what games are available, and that sort of thing. So again, Chris and I will kind of go back and forth a little bit here. We can go ahead and keep going, Maggie. So just some things to cover about the seasons and games, what it takes to get started, some really basic coach expectations, important dates, and then popular questions and resources. So Play Versus is really, they work with a lot of different states, right? It's a really popular platform that covers a ton of different games and matches every single day, every single week and month throughout the school year. And it's an accredited platform partner that works with an NFHS, if I said that right, Chris, the National Federation of High School Associations, to be able to provide a safe space for high schools and middle schools to compete in esports. So we have different groups and states and schools competing from all across the country, not just in Michigan. They get to develop valuable skill sets related to teamwork, leadership, communication. Play Versus does a really good job kind of tracking some statistics and feedback from students and coaches. And the data will show that kids feel like they absolutely have an improvement in their communication skills, digital citizenship, social and emotional learning improves from having them be able to compete in esports. And then they also get exposure to college scholarships and career paths. Michigan has, correct me here if I'm wrong, Maggie, I think we're up to 28 different Michigan colleges have some sort of esports program. So they might not all be under athletics or competing at the varsity level. They might not all offer scholarships, but it is absolutely trending in that direction. So because we work with Play Versus, who again works with different state leagues all across the country, they've had over 16,000 schools on the platform, over 100,000 matches have taken place over the last 5 years. You can see all the different stats there. One of my favorite stats is the 45% mark. Typically what we find is 45% of students who are participating on an esports team have never participated in any other after-school activity before. So it's not just the non-football kids that are doing esports. It's typically kids who have never participated in band or drama or art club, right? So if you get almost 50% of your kids to participate for the first time, what an amazing opportunity to have them feel like they're engaged and part of their school community for the first time, right? So again, just one of my more favorite stats that we typically share.
And that is a national average, whereas in Michigan, we have found that that stat actually is a little bit higher in high schools and even higher in middle schools.
So I mentioned earlier, we have a fall and a spring season. It typically aligns with the semester of the school year. Couple of things to point out is your school does not have to participate in both seasons. They are two separate things. There's no impact on one season from the previous season, right? So it's a whole new beginning, a whole new experience. You will have students that can't participate in both based on other after-school conflicts, right? You will absolutely have kids that want to play in both, and they're going to hope that you can offer and support both seasons. Typically, a season has a couple weeks of a preseason, which is a really, really important opportunity to work out all the kinks in the tech needs that you have and in your equipment. It gets a chance if you're trying to decide what teams to field and what the team makeup might be of a certain game title, like who's going to really show up and how well they perform. So preseason is really important for that. We have typically an 8-week regular season, which includes a bye week. So yes, we work around spring breaks and midwinter breaks and those types of things. And then if you qualify and there's a playoff, we have up to 4 weeks. It's usually about 2 to 4 weeks for a postseason tournament. So for the next 2 slides, Chris and I are going to kind of go back and forth, and we're going to slow it down. We like to answer a lot of questions about the different games being offered and when they take place. So for high school, and eventually middle school here, all the games will take place on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We have certain games on certain days of the week, and it always is on that day. It will never change. So, for example, for high school, if you are a Valorant player, which is on Tuesday, Valorant games will always be played on Tuesday. It will not switch to a different day of the week partway through the season or randomly. It's much more consistent than the traditional sports schedule. So you can see on Tuesdays, we have Splatoon, Chess, Valorant, Street Fighter 6, and League of Legends. On Wednesdays, we have NBA 2K, Smash Brothers, Overwatch. And on Thursdays, Rocket League, Mario Kart, Madden, and Hearthstone. And again, these are the high school titles. All of the games start at 4 o'clock. Can some games start a little earlier or a little later, depending on maybe something you have going on or when your school gets out? I'm going to say it can, but you would have to work that out with the other coach of the opposing team. You're going to want to work that out hopefully in advance. So if you guys are like a 2:20 dismissal time and you're hoping to get your match in earlier, can you? Absolutely. There's no rule that says you can't, but you would have to work that out with the other school, because the other school you might be competing against might not get out till 3:10, right? So, but it can. If you can't get a match in on a certain day for whatever reason, again, if you want to work that out typically in advance, are you able to play a game on a different day? Sure. If the other team from the other school agrees to it and say, oh, can we get this match in on Friday instead? Absolutely. Mondays and Fridays are typically left open for practice, for scrimmages. We like to push out maybe some extra webinars or something we might do on a Monday is a good day for MHSEL to offer those opportunities, since we know there aren't any matches being played that day. Let's say, for example, you are only fielding a Rocket League team that plays on Thursday. Monday doesn't have to be the practice day for your Rocket League team. Tuesday or Wednesday could. So it just kind of depends on the capacity of the room you're in. Can they come any day of the week to practice? Are you going to hold them to only certain days for practice beyond their match day? Lots of those things. I do also want to point out that all of the game titles, this is what makes our league unique. We have official licensed partnerships to work with these game publishers. And a lot of those games come with added kind of bonuses or unlock codes to give you all the characters, or sometimes to give you the game for free, because we have that official publisher partnership. It's not really like copyright, but it's similar if you think of it that way.
One thing I do want to point out, being in Michigan, we do have 2 time zones. For our purposes on the platform, we are an Eastern Standard Time zone. So if you are in the Central Time zone, you would just need to be aware of that as you are looking at your matches as well.
Yep, good point. And Sarah asked, does a school have to participate in fall and spring? So no. Yep, you can choose one or the other. Your kids are going to hope you can do both, but based on capacity of the coach and other things, you do not have to participate in both. Chris, how do I do on that slide?
Very good. I would just also reiterate that you can play as many or as few of these titles as you want. So if your school has significant interest, and let's say 8 out of the 10 someone's interested, you could go up to that. You can have also multiple teams per title. So Super Smash Brothers is the most popular title for 3 years running now. And so if you have, let's say, and we'll get into this in a couple slides, but if you have, let's say, 10 to 15 kids who are interested in Super Smash Brothers, you can have more than one team, so those students have a chance to participate.
Good point. Thank you, Chris. All right, let's talk about the middle school titles now. So, not quite as many middle school titles. I would have to imagine this will grow over time, but we do want to make sure everything is age appropriate. And again, we're kind of starting a little small so we can build up the space for our middle school teams. Tuesdays would be chess, NBA 2K is Splatoon 3. Wednesdays would be Mario Kart, and Thursdays would be Rocket League and Smash Brothers. And again, every Wednesday will be Mario Kart. It's not going to switch to Thursday or Friday or some other day. Every Wednesday would be that, because I know especially transportation for our middle school friends is a little more challenging than our high schoolers to be able to organize rides and staying after school. So, and again, same thing, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Times would be the start time.
I do want to make a note that, remember, this is based on your capacity as a school, and as you're getting your league started off, if you're only able to offer one game title, that's okay. If you're able to offer multiple, that's great. It depends on the technology that you have, your students' interest, as well as your capacity as a coach. So just be aware that we have all of these titles to offer so that your school can offer them to your students, but it is based on your capacity.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. So here's some basic game info. We try to have it labeled so you know how many players are on a team, what equipment is used to play that game. And again, just to remind you, are we talking high school? Are we talking middle school? So starting off with chess, though, it's going to be a 3-person team. It's really one-on-one, and you kind of rotate once your match is done. So player A from team 1, player A from team 2 play their chess match, and then player 2 from for round 2, and player 2 on team B would play. So it's not like they're trading turns between 6 people. So just to clarify that can be played on a PC, Mac, tablet, or mobile device. So just about any device. And that is for both high school and middle school. Hearthstone is PC or console. That is 3 players. That is high school only. League of Legends is high school only. That is a 5-player team. So one of our kind of larger teams that is played on PC or Mac. We have Madden is a solo team. So one player makes up one team on Madden, and that is only played on a PS5. So we just made the switch from PS4 to PS5, high school only.
And
Mario Kart. What's that? Go ahead.
Ryan,
Yeah.
as I know that you're going through this, but we do have a couple clarifying questions that
Yes.
might be helpful in the chat to explain before you continue on with the game, the rest of the game titles. For one, council. What is a council meeting?
Console would be like the game equipment. So for typically a PlayStation is considered a console, a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox are considered a console. So some of the games require specifically a Nintendo Switch, like the Nintendo games. So Mario Kart, Splatoon, Smash. Some of our games we only played on a PlayStation 5. So NBA 2K and Madden. And then some will say any console or cross-platform, meaning you can play it on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, whatever. So hopefully that explains that to Sarah. And then I see Tim was asking about when we say played on, play versus. So good question, Tim. So really play versus the dashboard is for making sure you are ready to go, communicating with the other team so you can set up the match and give each other the lobby code or password to join, reporting your scores, who won, who lost. The actual game is played on the game. So whether you're using a Nintendo lobby to connect, or you're using, on Rocket League, some players use the publisher account or your Steam. You might hear that one. But you're actually playing it on the game itself, and you are reporting the info or communicating with each other back in Play Versus to get that set up. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just to quickly add there, some games have an integration, like a API integration directly with the publisher. So League of Legends and Rocket League, essentially you get the code on the PlayVersus platform, then you can click it. It would open up the game client and into the correct lobby. So some games are more integrated than others, but everything Ryan had said, yes, it's basically you're still going to have to play the game via that game publisher's platform and client, but everything else would be on the PlayVersus platform.
And Nick had some great questions that were posed in the Q&A in regards to the first one, and I'm going to let Ryan and Chris take these two, is for games that are cross-platform, will teams be playing against teams on the same platform, or could they be playing against teams on a different platform? So if I remember correctly, that's basically about being on the same publisher platform or connected with PlayVersus, but you might need some clarification on that one a little bit more.
Correct. So games that are certified crossplay via the publisher can be played on different consoles. Typically, we see, like, for example, Madden. I think this would be the first year that we are doing the PS5 version of the game only, which is crossplay. In years past, we were running on the PS4 version of the game, which wasn't cross-platform. So if you have a PS5 and someone else has an Xbox for Madden 25, they would be able to actually play each other. That being said, typically we see PlayStation 5s as being far more popular in terms of just availability and for student use as well. So we typically see it on that, but as crossplay becomes more mainstream throughout the industry, we're looking to support that as best we can as well.
And one more question in the Q&A from Nick is, and do games that have DLC like Mario Kart and Smash, is the DLC required?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's really two different parts for this. So the simple answer is, are DLCs required? The answer is no. DLCs are not required. Just understand that some characters that your students may play against might be DLC characters. The good thing for many of our titles that do have DLCs, so it's mostly the Nintendo titles, so Mario Kart, Splatoon, and Smash. PlayVersus, via our partnership there, has quite a number of digital game codes for the actual game itself and the DLCs. So, for example, Super Smash Brothers, I believe it has 4 DLCs. If you connect with someone at PlayVersus and essentially ask for the digital game and the DLC codes, that's something that we're generally able to provide to all programs. We've never hit our limit in terms of the number of codes to give out, so I would definitely inquire to save yourself some money on those fronts. While we're on the topic of Nintendo and availability, the other thing we also offer for programs that are either new to esports or new to Nintendo titles is potentially being able to give out a Nintendo Switch and controller to the school directly so that the school would own it. Those are limited supply. They're generally first come, first serve. So if that is something that is of interest to your program, I would definitely inquire with PlayVersus, and we'll have some contact information at the end of the presentation. But that is another thing that we're able to give that value in terms of the Switch and the controllers and the online, codes. Could be $300 plus for the Switch alone, plus all the game codes could be, close to 100 when you factor in all the DLCs. So it's definitely something I would definitely inquire on to see how PlayVersus can help you get your program started with some of these titles.
I have a couple questions that are actually in the chat, not the Q&A. So Judith asked about just kids bringing or playing on their own consoles. Can they bring them from home, or do the schools have to provide? It is up to you. We have all sorts of schools doing it all sorts of different ways, to be honest. So some kids are allowed to bring their own device from home. They bring it, they check it in with their coach before school starts, and they bust it out after school. I would say if that's going to probably freak out your IT and network administrators at your school a little bit. So you want to, a big part of this is kind of buddying up with those people, bringing them some coffee and cookies, because there is going to be required to get devices on the network and then not just on the internet and the network, but actually be able to get through the filters to be able to access different information and to be able to connect with the other schools that are participating. And so when it's done on a school device, a laptop, a PC, it's generally easier. But whether you want to go out and buy brand new switches, as Chris mentioned, there's an opportunity to get a free switch potentially from PlayVersus. We have schools go out to GameStop and buy used ones. We've had they reach out to their student council group or different support groups at the school that'll buy them for them, saying, hey, we're going to have 45% of our kids do an after school activity for the first time. You think you can buy us a couple of Nintendo Switches or used PS5s? And you'll be surprised at the response you'll get. And just making sure you work with those IT network folks to get those set up so they can communicate. So hopefully that answers Judith's question. And then Jim asked about, does PlayVersus provide licensing for the games? He mentioned specifically PC games, or does the district have to purchase them individually? I think it kind of depends on the game, correct?
Correct. So for the PC specific games, the ones that can only be played on PC, so that would be at this point League of Legends, Valorant, and Overwatch. League of Legends is free just for any user. You just need an account. The game works on essentially buying characters, which is something that you wouldn't have to do. Actually, something called Campus Unlock, where Riot Games, the publisher of that game, would directly work with you to essentially open all characters on that title. For Overwatch, I believe Overwatch 2 is free to play. Overwatch 1 was not. So basically you can, for Overwatch, be able to play without having to pay anything. And then Valorant, the same, I believe. I could be wrong. Ryan, is Valorant, it's free to play, correct? I thought it was.
I believe Valorant is free to play.
Yeah, so for any of these titles, PC based, like you don't have to pay for the game itself. There might be some characters you have to unlock, but the district, you wouldn't have to go to the district and ask for a budget to buy the game directly. You would go to the district for other things, so like maybe equipment or coach stipend or stuff like that.
But a good thing to point out, though, is, but let's say a game like Madden. So as of now, the student would need to have the PS5 version of the game to be played. And then they would have to have the PlayStation network account to be able to go online and play. So it really depends on the game and the device. And like I said, we have a lot of other resources that can walk through and explain all those. And so I think just for the sake of time, we'll probably head to the next few slides just to talk about what it would take to actually get started and be able to show you where some of these additional resources are and then answer some more questions.
So just so that you are aware, when you do receive this slide deck tomorrow, all of these icons on these past 3 slides are all hyperlinked to their pages where you can get more information on each and every game title. So they're already preloaded for you.
And again, we won't play the video here, but really cool aspect of working with PlayVersus is their partnership with the unified sports leagues and with Special Olympics. So even in Michigan with Special Olympics Michigan, there is an opportunity, especially you see that unified at larger schools, to work with your special needs students, be able to have them participate. Again, esports is very inclusive, much more inclusive than other traditional sports, whether it be gender or ability level, right? There's no need to be 6'2" and run a 4.8 40-yard dash time anymore to be good at esports. So there's opportunities to work with all students in esports, and we have some really tremendous stories that come out of Northeast Michigan near Tawas, participating in Elkona, as well as Birmingham Public Schools participated and had they did really well with some of their students that they included in their team. So another powerful opportunity. So now that our league is free, which started last spring season, really to get started is you can go to playversus.com and create an account. They do not ask for you to attach any credit card information or anything like that. You can get started by setting up your account, kind of getting your school added to the school list in Michigan, So you can identify the proper school, especially now that we're adding on middle schools, being able to know, are we at the high school? Are we at the middle school? And then from there, you can start deciding what leagues you want to participate in. If you want to go to the next slide, Maggie, what teams you're going to field. And you don't, even if you don't know it all right now, you can absolutely go back and add it in later. It's not hard to do, but again, you'll log in, you'll create your team. You're going to decide which title the team is going to play on. You'll be able to actually start sending out the link to have students in start adding themselves into your team, what seasons you want to play on, and all that good stuff. And the platform, again, why we're using Playverse is it's just extremely intuitive and easy to do with a lot of step-by-step instructions and little videos on how to do it and where to click built right in.
Same thing.
Coaches. So one thing I like to point out is you do not need to be a gamer to be a successful coach with esports. We do have some hardcore gamers, people who used to play kind of amateur or semi-professionally that coach. A lot of our coaches are teachers or support staff at a school that were just begged to by some students, hey, Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, can you be our esports coach? And they do great. They provide a safe space. They communicate league information. They hold kids accountable, make sure they're behaving appropriately. And really the kids are like, we got it. They'll be plugging things in, unplugging, moving things around, and playing the game. And we find that our coaches who aren't gamers end up really finding an interest in it. They learn a lot about the different games and how they work. It can be a teacher, an aide, an administrator. It can be a parent. It can be an older brother or sibling who maybe is going to college nearby, as long as some of those folks pass the background checks, of course, to work with students. But we make it really easy. And then there are a ton of resources through Playverses, through MHSEL in terms of how to go through your game day protocol, all the different rules, and that sort of thing. So don't feel like you need to be an expert running Rocket League drills, right? The kids will kind of know what to do and what to practice. But there's some pictures here of the dashboard that just kind of shows you how the schedule works a little bit. And we use kind of a smart scheduler system that aligns teams that are getting their matches in without having to forfeit, that are doing really well. You'll kind of be lined up to play other people along the way that are in a similar spot and ability level as you. Something new specifically related to the schedule this year for our league is we are going to offer varsity leagues for some of our multiplayer teams, meaning if you want to be very competitive, you can submit a single team to participate in varsity against kind of the best of the best. If you don't think you're quite there yet, you can just play in the junior varsity league, and you can have as many teams in the junior varsity league as you want. But you'll be able to see kind of what students are on your roster, who's in your bench. So just like volleyball, basketball, right? You can move kids from bench to starting lineup and back and forth, depending on if Susie's got a dentist appointment and she can't be at that match, or you have Johnny who's been on the bench that's just been really proving himself at practice and has been showing up to every single practice. You can move those around, and it's super easy to do so. During the match day, we ask that you try to check in at least an hour, if not even earlier in the day is best, with the other team and the other coach of the other team. So you can just communicate those things like, hey, we will absolutely be ready to go by 4 o'clock, or hey, any chance we can push it 20 minutes earlier, or we're going to be running 5 minutes late because of an assembly, those types of things. And then there's a chat function available as well, where you can communicate that information.
Mm-hmm. And just as a reminder that the JV and varsity leagues would be for the high school level, not middle school. Sorry, there we go. And just communicating.
Yep, so communication, you'll be able to enter in those match results, as we mentioned. We'll skip this. This is just a video of how to kind of get started with some of those steps that we mentioned already. And then finally, some key dates here. Registration for the fall season is going to close for both middle school and high school on September 20th. I would not wait until that last day, especially at the high school level, because the following week, week one of your matches will count and start. And so you would be skipping that preseason. So the preseason starts September 9th, the week of the 9th. And as we mentioned before, that's a really important time to just figure out your teams, to make sure your switch is connected and can talk to, and you can get into the lobby to play those games against your competing teams. Our regular season for high school ends mid-November because then we get ready for playoffs if you qualify. Middle school for the fall, remember we said the fall is just the scholastic season, no playoffs, so you'll get a couple extra weeks to keep playing because the kids will want to keep going probably all the way up till the holiday break. Playoffs will run through early December for high school, with our in-person state championships being on December 7th at Michigan State University for our probably only 4 of our game titles, our most popular 4. The other games will continue out and finish out on different dates. And just a big thing, it's go ahead, Maggie.
I was about to say it would be great if you are a middle school team and are able to make it to MSU on December 7th. We welcome you. We'll have more information that'll be put out about registration and everything for that event, specifically here later at a later date during the season. But it's a great experience for kids to see esports live. It is a completely different realm being in person than just competing on a screen. The environment, I mean, it gets crazy and loud, just like a football or basketball stadium. I know that we have a video. We might not be able to play all of it, but there's matches that are insanely loud. Are playoffs played online or are they in person? Playoffs are played online. We are able to do some of the game titles. For instance, for high school specifically, if we are able to, we try to do more than just the championship matches for at the in-person event. Usually we try to get at least semis in as well. And if we're able to do more, we will notify you it's within the first about 2 to 3 weeks of the season so that you are aware of what is happening moving forward.
Yeah, great question, Nick. And again, there on that slide, it talked about everything being free now, right? So it's free. So there really is no risk in getting started and signing up. If you end up doing it, you decide, yeah, shoot, I just don't think we're going to pull it off for fall. No worries. You can do some things along the way in the fall. You can even, when you could be halfway through the fall season, you finally get some kids that are committed. You can use the platform and start scrimmaging just to see how it goes and see what it all entails, and then join us for the more competitive aspect in the spring if you want. So can you go back to that other slide real quick, Maggie, just for a second? Chris is kind of our main contact that we use kind of at the state partnership level for Play Versus, but some other folks that kind of boots on the ground, so to speak, are Zach and Eric, who are just great resources to use. So if you are a returning school, Zach usually works with those folks if they have questions or changes, or they want, they need some assistance. Anybody who would be new, so most likely people on this call or this webinar would reach out to Eric, and they can help schedule consultation calls to walk you through the steps one-on-one if you need that. If you need that assistance. But they're great people, and these will probably be the folks you would want to reach out to about some of those codes or potential Nintendo Switch opportunities, as I mentioned earlier in the chat. So you'll definitely want to write down Zach or Eric's contact info.
And while we have that slide up, we do have a couple of questions from Judith that are in the chat. For costs, it's free to play on our platform, period. We work with the Play Versus, and they have moved to offer being able to compete in the league for free. So there are no enrollment fees for our league. I would say that there may be some other fees that if you want to come to an in-person event, that you want to think about transportation, you want to think about technology fees, and keeping up maintenance on the technology and the equipment that you have. Is there anything else that I'm missing with costs, Ryan, like major ones? I mean, there may be, if we do hold side events and side tournaments that may have a small cost to them. But again, those would be outside of the regular season.
We really encourage folks to try and treat this like any traditional sport or program that's been established, right? And I understand they might not want to do that initially. They want to make sure that it has longevity and kids are interested. But, you know, I'm a strong proponent of paying the coach a stipend at least, if not getting them on the Schedule B, Schedule C. Some of these coaches are going to have 25 kids with them 4 nights a week. That's a JV basketball coach to me, you know? So those types of things. We do have a lot of schools that will purchase jerseys for the kids, right? It'll probably be the first piece of clothing that ever has the school mascot on it that they'd ever worn before in their life. So those are some other costs outside of like technical equipment. Chris, any more to add to that?
Nope. In terms of like, there's some nuance to like some of the sports titles. You would have to purchase like Madden or NBA 2K releases a new game every year, so there would be like some small costs, but definitely nowhere near what it would have cost even just last year. Now that it's completely free.
All right, let's move on to the next couple slides. We have about 10 minutes left or so. So again,
So these are all hyperlinked.
yep. So we'll get you the slide deck. You can click on each one of those. It'll take you to a helpful article or video. And I guess the one resource I'll point out from that list, there is like a network, IT hardware network, that very first one listed there. That is the one you will want to print off and give it to your IT admin person with a coffee or brownies to explain to them what you need. Especially for those of you, if you have that person right in your district, right in your building, awesome. I know some of you contract that out through like the local ISD or RESA at the county level. So there's some more channels to go through. So, but that is a very important document to get started.
And on here again, just a couple more resources, but one that we really want to highlight is these are what Play Versus, they hold a it's basically like a course that these coaches go through, and training and classes that they take to become a super coach. So we are lucky enough to have 5 major coaches that went through that training and program and became Michigan super coaches that are on the Play Versus platform, meet with Play Versus regularly, as well as are very involved in our league. 2 of these individuals, Sherry and Eric, are on our advisory board. And all 5 of them have been very involved in the league. So they are great contacts for you if you have questions.
Again,
These are,
go ahead.
sorry, Rye. The next couple of slides, these are all hyperlinked. So these, every image, if you just click on the link, it'll take you to the rule book. It'll take you to the game day protocol, so that you have those readily available for you. And then the next couple of slides just highlight stuff that is very specific to our league only, that is really special that we do and what makes our league unique. I'm going to skip this one. It's a good testimonial from Chris at Novi. Again, he's on our advisory board, and good, just really good.
The Michigan high school.
If I can skip it. This is also a video great to showcase. This went viral last year, was picked up by multiple national news outlets, as well as the Rocket League on X or Twitter, and worth
Center.
checking out.
Yeah, it was on Sports Center. So it was just a pep assembly at Detroit Catholic Central. And so 1,000 kids packed in the gym to watch them take on a crosstown rival kind of in Rocket League. And I've been to my share of pep assemblies and pep rallies and gyms. in basketball games over the years. This was the loudest thing I've ever experienced before. It was crazy. And so it ended up having like over 1 million views on TikTok, I think, but pretty crazy. So you'll want to check that out if you get the chance.
So the past couple of years, we've held Explore Esports conference, and it's where we have from learning about esports, having no knowledge, to being experienced esports teams and wanting to become better and learn better strategies and advance as a program. We will be doing a scaled down version of this and be sharing more information out at a later date in regards to what we will be doing this year. Just some photos about our semis and state championships. Again, Ryan did note about like, this is, some of these kids' first time being able to really represent their school, and it's a big deal. I know that Ryan really likes to point out this photo here with, the cars that are all written up in the parking lot, which is, it's absolutely incredible. They get all pumped up to be able to represent their school and, compete for a championship. We do have an awards program. So something about earlier, you don't have to compete in both seasons. But at the high school level, if you want to be considered, for instance, like player of the year, we would, you have to have played in both seasons. So those are just, a couple things, but we do an awards program. We kicked this off last year and it was absolutely incredible, being able to really highlight the talent that is out there in the state of Michigan with the students as well as our coaches. Whoops, went too quick. We do have a variety of in-person and virtual regional tournaments. As you can see, we have a multitude of partners that we work with to be able to provide these at little to no cost for schools in our league. And then Michigan State University will be where we hold our in-person championships this fall season. Ryan, can you take this one real quick?
Sure thing. So we tried to make as many connections as we can to college and career opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities for soft skills to be developed, STEM and computer science opportunities throughout esports as well. And so one of the things that helped us kind of lean into that was hosting what was called the Shoutcaster Showdown. So essentially, as I mentioned earlier, that skill to do the play-by-play and color commentary of what you're seeing unfold in an esports match, we turned that into a competition. And so kind of designed around just like solo ensemble or band festival competitions or DECA, BPA, forensic debate competitions. We had schools submit a team to be able to call or shoutcast a match at Ferris State University that they had never seen or watched before and use context to be able to describe what was happening. And so we ended up with a winner from Taylor High School who got a $500 scholarship and a trophy and a giant oversized check that you see there. And so that was a really cool experience. And then while we were there in a state-of-the-art brand new facility by Ferris State that was designed in part for esports, we also ran a Smash Brothers tournament while that was going on. So just a really cool day with some unique opportunities that only MHSEL provides.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. So as I mentioned, some of those dates are the preseason and regular season playoffs, some other things. So if you are joining us, we are going to run a new coaches webinar for the fall season on September 9th at 3 p.m. We will have a fall coaches meeting. And again, these apply to both high school and middle school at 3 p.m. on September 6th. I believe those are both Mondays. Shoutcaster Showdown entries are due October 18th with the finals for the Shoutcaster Showdown happening in person at Ferris State on November 9th. And then those who are interested in learning more, you think you have some colleagues that might find this information interesting, we do run a course for free. It will get you 2 sketches on the Michigan Virtual Professional Learning Portal called Introduction to Esports. Yes, we do a new coaches webinar, both seasons each time. The fall coaches meeting, that's a new thing. We've always kind of just done it via email, but just to ensure that everybody gets the information and reads their email, we're doing a required coaches meeting for the first time, which we'll probably do in the spring as well. So good question.
And in regards, we will also have a new coaches webinar, both fall and spring as well, not just season coach fall and spring. Very similar titles, so just clarification on that for you. And this is a quote that we really stick with. It's our tagline: esports, no matter the results. When students compete, school culture wins.
So, and Maggie will pull up our contact information on one more slide, and we'll just kind of leave it up here as we wrap up the webinar today. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's busy with the start of school looming. Some of you might actually be in session already. My kids go back next week, so I'm ready for that. But this is our contact, so feel free to call, text, email us. You had the information from Zach and Eric from Play Versus earlier. This information will go out tomorrow, slide deck and recording. And otherwise, I'm happy to hang out for a few more minutes to answer any questions you might have. Pop those in the Q&A. Otherwise, thank you, everybody. We hope to have as many of you join this fall as possible. If not, hopefully we will catch you in the spring. So Sarah has some questions, really just kind of about getting started. So I would start with this, Sarah. One of the links in the slide deck, it should be there. If not, it's on our website, or I can just email it to you if I make a note here at mhsel.org. I would really start. You don't want to go out and just buy a bunch of equipment, because you only need certain equipment to run certain games, right? So you want to let your students kind of drive the interest. You don't want to go, oh, I'm going to buy all this stuff so we can do Mario Kart, and then find out there's only one kid in your building that wants to do Mario Kart. Everybody else would rather do Smash or Rocket League, right? So there is a Google Form survey that we have that you would want to send out just to find out who is interested in participating, what are their games that they would like to participate on. I would then have a meeting during lunch or after school with that group to see who's interested. And then from there, decide what equipment would be needed. So if you know, if you don't think there's any way that you can bring devices from home, or that you don't think you can do a Nintendo title, then you don't want to bother trying to offer a Nintendo title for whatever reason. So I think that's really step one. And then from there, you would see, what do you have for capacity currently? What would you need to go out and buy in addition to? So if you have a computer lab still in your building, or a media center, and you have a handful of desktop PCs, chances are they'll be fine for what we're trying to do. Maybe they need a little $50 video card upgrade type thing. But that's a good way to start. And so, for example, if you only have 4 PCs in this room, you would know then right off the bat that I can't do a game like Valorant or Overwatch that has a 5-player team, because I don't have 5 PCs for them to play on, right? I could do Rocket League because only 3 are needed. So those are some of the numbers and things you have to kind of dictate based on, again, student interest, number one. Number two, based on capacity. So,
And
go ahead, Maggie.
like Ryan mentioned, on the website, we do have a step-by-step on like how to start your program and what we would recommend, all of those pieces kind of lined out, about doing the interest survey, about meeting with your administrators, about, all of those pieces first. prior to getting into, you know, all the game title, informations. Now, knowing about the specs for what PCs need, that's in the, technology, network, resource that PlayVersus, does have provided. We do have it linked here in, the slide deck that will be shared out.
And different games have different specs. I will tell you this right off the bat, Chromebooks do not work. So if you were hoping on Chromebooks, that's really not an option. Maybe on chess, I guess, might be the only one, Chris, but we generally tell people to stay away from the Chromebook thing. It really it depends really on the game. A lot of the games you need, one kid is going to sit at a desktop or a laptop and, their teammates will be lined up next to them in a row. We do have some games where you kind of like pass the controller down. So like Smash, you only need one switch and technically one controller because only one kid plays it at a time. And when, person one on team A is done, they pass it down to person two, and then they grab the controller and play. So it just really depends on the game. Sarah, I would be more than happy to, if you have some specific questions about some specific games, once you kind of find out what you think your kids are interested in, or possibly Eric from PlayVersus, we would reach out to us once you know a little more of that, and then we can take kind of a deep dive into each individual game and what equipment you would need. Otherwise, we would do that for about the next 2 hours now to go through all the different items, if that helps. Link to the getting started guide. Do you want to show her that section of the website, Maggie?
I'm muted. I just realized. I'm talking, but I'm muted.
So this is MHSEL.org, which will automatically take you to this page.
And then start your team today. So we have a couple of our resources just linked right here, as well as PlayVersus. But this is going to be what your next steps are for you. And it's all lined out. Recruit students. This is a simple student interest survey. You click on it, it's going to force you to make a copy. And that is going to be preloaded, and you can make all the edits that you would like to that survey, as that will be your unique survey for your school. And that will go out, and then you can share that out and get the interest. You can schedule a consultation call, get your admin's approval, and go through those pieces. The resource center here at PlayVersus, I'll also just hop over to that as well, since we are screen sharing, so that you can see that. And the coach resources, this is a really great section that they have on how to build your program, and all of a lot of just extras that will help you get your program up and running.
And Chris dropped a link in the chat, by the way, Sarah, if you want to check that out, which basically a lot of what we build our website from and our resources comes from there. So
Ryan, could you actually send that to her? Because I can only send it to hosts and panelists.
Oh, you could? Okay. Oh, whoops. Here you go, Sarah. I'll put it there.
Yes, Sarah, please feel free to reach out to us at any point if you have questions, or if you need to meet with us, or if you need us to help present to anybody else in your school to help figure out, getting the program up and running. That's why we're here. We're here to help you get started and get you started successfully.
That was a good question. Thank you. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. We are kind of over on our time now. So we are going to wrap things up. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. Reach out to Maggie or myself. Sure. Yeah, Judah, we'll stay on. I just didn't want to keep people I don't want people to feel obligated to stay. So go ahead, Judith. And you can I might be able to if you raise your hand, I might even be able to unmute you or allow to talk. If you want to unmute.
Here we go.
There we go. We can hear you.
All right. Thanks so much, you guys. I'm sorry. I was looking at the website, and we're a 5-8 middle school.
Okay.
So we do have some kids who are going to be even with some of our sixth graders are gonna be under 13. They can play as long as they have a signed permission slip, is that?
Yep.
Right now,
So-
we're only in grade 6 through, I'm sorry, so for middle school league, it's grade 6 through 8 is what we are offering. Even if they are under 13, but we are asking that it be at grade 6. We are trying to go to 5th grade. Part of the issue is obviously it's based on the age, and the other part is just the COPA compliance for what Playverse is kind of has set up with all the data policies and protection. So we can only go
Okay.
down to 6th grade at the moment. In our high school league, we used to allow 8th graders, if they were 13, to pop up and go play with the high schoolers at smaller districts that needed the help. I don't think we'll need that anymore now that we have a 6th through 8th grade middle school league.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't know if we could include the fifth graders, but no, we'll just do sixth.
As of right now, no, but I'm working on trying to get that changed, even potentially for next spring season.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Great question.
When I click on the student survey, it tells me I need to
You
request.
guys want to mute me again? Mute me?
Yep, sure.
Thanks.
Here, let's see. Ryan, if I'm gonna drop this link into the chat, but can you send it to them? Because I only have access to send it to us. There we go. And see if that works. It shouldn't
Melissa, you
have.
want to try that link and let us know?
If it continues, then I will look at a setting that I might have. I can stop my screen share now. And double check what's going on with that. I'm so sorry. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And we can also email it or put in the follow-up email too for some reason. Still not working, huh? All right. Well, I'll get that fixed and I will include that in the email follow-up that goes out tomorrow. So you're not sitting around waiting on us right now, Melissa. Sorry
Yep.
about that. Any other last minute questions at all? I am not seeing any. So, okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you on the Play Versus platform in a couple weeks. Take care.